a great episode and on an important topic relevant of today, and something we've talked about numerous times here on VCTV in a good way, and are going to continue this discussion ongoing over the next year, because it's something that very much matters, not just to us as individual investors, but also on a global scale. And what are we talking about? We're talking about clean, environmental, and sustainability. So clean tech, environmental tech, and sustainability, and how those are changing and how those are sometimes lagging behind in certain areas, and where does technology play a role? What's happening around the world in different regions, and where is industry playing a role in helping to transform these three areas as well? So a lot to talk about. A lot has been said out in the news recently around certain companies pushing towards innovating in these areas to making sure that they have clean and sustainable, efficient businesses and the like. So we want to unpack that. We've brought the best and the brightest from around the world who are investing in this area and who've been building in these areas to share with you what they're seeing, so that you can have the knowledge to make the right investments and also to position your company for success as well. Now, before we get started and introduce each of our guests today, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, make sure you click subscribe, give us a thumbs up, do reach out to the team and or myself if you would like to be on a show like today as an investor, to share your thoughts and insights on different technologies, industries, and trends around the world. And entrepreneurs, guess what? It is October 1st. Woo! It's October 1st. What does that mean for you? It's the beginning of Q4. You've got 3 months left in the end of the year. 3 months, 90 days, give or take. This is the last sprint you have of 2020. It's the time when you need to be out fundraising or selling and presenting your new product and service to the world. We have a stage for you here on VCTV to not only pitch us as investors and get real-time feedback on your product, but also to pitch our live audience what you're building, what you're selling, and what you're fundraising for as well. So do reach out to the LATOKEN team and or myself, and we'll find the right episode for you and the right stage to get you best positioned for success as well. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day on your device anywhere in the world. With that, I'm your host today, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and dive in and welcome each and every one of our guests. First and foremost, Irina, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to see you. A short little intro and a little background for everybody in the audience.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back. It's so lovely to start my day with, your really, really powerfully positive, impactful voice. Yes. So Irina Litchfield, founder of Blockchain Cubed. It's a blockchain integration technology company, and president of Lumeria. It's where capital meets innovation. It's a pleasure to be here, and impact on and clean environment is kind of the biggest problem right now in our world. And, it's a pleasure to see that finally a lot of money is being deployed all over the world into clean tech and environment tech.
Wonderful. And again, welcome back to the show. I know this is an important topic to you, as we've talked about it again here on VCTV, from the agriculture side to then also some of your interests and investments into deep technologies and space, which we've spoken about. And we'll be coming back to talk a little bit more about each of those. Mr. Gary Fowler, Grandmaster of Artificial Intelligence, the one who will light up the light bulb with data, if anything else.
Oh,
Gary Fowler,
like
welcome
that.
back.
That's the best one yet.
I'm on fire this Thursday.
That's amazing. Okay. So my name's Gary Fowler, and a serial entrepreneur. I've done 15 companies, 2 unicorns, a company called Click Software I was on the original team of. We took it out of Haifa. And most recently, Eva.ai, which is near unicorn status today. And I love AI, but I also love clean tech. And so I think that, the world has a lot of challenges. We have 4x the population in the last 100 years. Potable water, non-potable water is an issue. And so we've got to take care of that. We've got all kinds of challenges from, how do we take our reliance off fossil fuel over to electric vehicles? And I'm encouraged by Newsom's statements, although it's an executive order by 2045, 100% of California is going to be electric. So, and I was just on a call right before this, was the largest utility in the United States, talking about CleanTech and batteries, and I can talk about that a little bit. And we're working with a company in Brazil that actually has developed some organic compounds to be able to suck up oil spills and then reuse it. So you just love this stuff. I mean, it's the challenge that we have. We have a lot less land. I mean, look at it today too. We've got, we buy bottled water. They say in a few years, we'll be selling water by the barrel, like oil.
That's wild to think about, but also a future that we've talked a little bit about here on, again, VCTV, around the future of sustainability and again, some of our clean tech. Tolga, to you, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Thank you, Kyle, for having me again. I appreciate it. My name is Tolga. This is, I think, my 4th or 5th event. I'm really excited again to be with you guys and with Kyle. And thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure. To give you a little brief background, after working for companies like Spin Master and Electronic Arts, I founded a startup called Thunderbolt, and we built multiple different technology ventures under the umbrella of my company. Eventually, I sold Thunderbolt to an investment company called New Wave Holdings. And after the acquisition, I was appointed as the CEO of New Wave, and the company went public at the Canadian Stock Exchange in October 2019. After taking a break during the pandemic, recently I joined a new EV charging company as their vice president. I'm supporting a team with product design and marketing. The company is called Loop, and you can check our website at evloop.io. We're coming up with some new innovative stuff soon, and I'm gonna keep you updated on that. But for now, I think this is a good intro.
Absolutely, and excited to dive in as we didn't get a chance to talk too much about that on the previous episode earlier this week. So we'll be coming to you for a free forum on that here in just a little bit. But last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, a new guest here on VCTV. We are very excited to have Keith. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you, as I said, and would love a little intro and a little background for our audience.
Hey, thanks, Kyle. Great to be here. Well, I was really pleased to get invited to be on the show today and tomorrow. I've been in CleanTech VC for 20 years. Before that, I was an entrepreneur, spent the 1990s with a series of startups in media and software. But out of that, I was headhunted by Mitsubishi Corporation to start up and run their Canadian venture capital activities. After the dot-com collapse, software and media was not what they wanted to do anymore. And because I was in Vancouver and there was all of the fuel cell and battery and everything that we later started calling clean tech, environmental technology, there was a huge cluster for it here. And they said, well, why don't you head that up? Fortunately, I had a couple of years of chemistry at university, so I had the vocabulary to start to explore that. I did that for 5 years, and then I became president of BASF Venture Capital America. BASF is the world's largest chemical company. Moved down to California and opened up their Silicon Valley office, ran all of their direct and fund investments for North America. And then moved back to Canada 10 years ago, becoming general partner of Pangea Ventures, the world leader in advanced materials venture capital, almost all of which is clean tech. I raised Fund 3 and Fund 4 and managed the deployment of those investments. And then earlier this year, I moved on to create something new that's a kind of hybrid venture capital private equity model. And nothing's been announced yet on that, but there will be an announcement of our first acquisition shortly. In addition to that, I serve as the chairman of the Foresight Clean Tech Accelerator Center. Since 2013, we have helped over 450 client companies achieve commercialization or to go on to greater things internationally. That work has been a lot of fun and it's very gratifying to help so many companies, way more than I can actually help as a VC. I can help these companies through this accelerator and see great progress and great economic impact.
Wow. Well, welcome to the show. I mean, that's a vast amount of experience. I'm excited to dive in on all parts of that as well, from the CVC side to the VC side, and now even the PE side. And we'll jump in probably on the accelerator side, because this is an industry that needs a lot of support and help and guidance along the way. As we know, regulation plays a big impact on companies getting started in these industries, and the more help and the more support they can have, the better towards their potential success as well. So great work, Keith, and to all of you as well in these areas. And we're excited to dive in. But first and foremost, I want to jump into today's question around the current state of these industries. So clean tech, environmental tech, and sustainability. What's happening? Where are things here in 2020 as we look ahead to the next year of 2021? As we know, 2020 has really created a clean slate, a new foundation, a new framework, however you best want to think about it, for the next decade ahead. And clean tech and environmental tech, and again, sustainability is no different. It fits into that void that this is now the time where we have to start focusing on these areas. Innovation has to start playing a role and has to be playing a more effective role in some cases as well. So as we look at 2020, want to come to each of you on your views of the current state of things today as we come to round out this year. So Tolga, let's start with you. What are you seeing as the current state of these three areas? And we'll call it all around clean tech and sustainability going forward. So to you.
I think, I mean, I mentioned this before in one of the other panels. I think we are definitely in the verge of, a huge shift. People, not only just the VC companies or some intellectual people are pushing this, but there's a global movement that and consciousness is growing around clean technologies and sustainability. People realize that oil or fossil fuels are not sustainable, and this is not going to last too long if it goes like this. So I think, and this pandemic definitely fastened the process in terms of, adoption of the clean technologies and sustainability, the consciousness around sustainability. So it's an interesting time because right now we are connected to each other more than ever. We are in the digital age, and everything that is related to sustainability is getting the benefits of the technology. So sustainability was a hard venture maybe 100 years ago I guess how to put this, but 100 years ago when maybe solar technologies actually existed. But the reason why it didn't become adopted or it didn't become mainstream is because it wasn't the most profitable ways to use solar energy 100 years ago. But right now it is becoming profitable, and the reasons behind this is because the manufacturing costs are much lower. Like I said, the connectivity and the digital technologies around the incentives are huge. So it is right now, I think, the right time to really invest into clean technologies and sustainability, because I think it's just going to grow from this point further. And I think there's no going back to the big oil or big, maybe natural gas can exist for decades, but oil is definitely not going to last too long. And I think, in my opinion, any company that is working on sustainability, clean technologies, EVs, EV charging, are going to be extremely valuable. And yeah, I think these are my general opinions.
Wonderful. That's a perfect tie-in back to you, Keith, for your view on the current state. I mean, EVs, EV charging, being a part of Mitsubishi, which is a much bigger company than just the car division, but also having this experience so vastly from, again, the venture side all the way through the founder side, and working with startups small to very large, as you've teased out. What are you seeing as the current state of these industries as of today?
Well, you know, CleanTech went through a real dark age there after the combination of the financial crisis and the very next year, Chinese silicon solar plays getting very aggressive with the government, basically underwriting their losses. And they were given their orders to go out there and take the market, and they did. The combination of those two things, the collapse of venture dollars available here with the real wipeout of the vast majority of solar players, the rest of the world. And then I would combine with that about the same timing was the shale gas boom, all the fracking and that decoupled gas from oil prices. Those three things hitting all in the same period of time really undermined all of the economics on which the energy side of CleanTech was based. And that's where the vast majority of dollars were going. As a result, you saw the returns for CleanTech just plummet absolutely into negative territory. And then the dollars went away, which meant that the companies that needed follow-on financing couldn't find them, which drove down rounds, which caused the problem even worse, which created fire sales and bankruptcies and just plain lost opportunities. Really great concepts addressing long-term markets, but which never really got to realize their potential. Now we've had a decade to come out of that. In the last couple of years, CleanTech, having sort of hit and gone along the bottom for a long time in terms of venture financing, started to turn up. I was very alarmed at the beginning of this year as I started to see COVID creeping along. And I thought, you know, I've been through this in CleanTech in the post.com collapse, in the post-financial crisis, combined with those other elements that I saw. And I think that this is a third impact. Having said that, though, in Q2, despite during lockdown, there was a real slowdown in CleanTech deals. In Q2, we saw a nice uptick in North America. So CleanTech is now no longer a dirty word. It's of interest. I don't really expect that CleanTech is going to get hit any worse than the other sectors in the post-COVID. What I expect, there will be a turn down. You can't have a venture market as hot as you had in 17, 18, 19 forever. But I do expect that there are some tailwinds now behind CleanTech, except for energy. And I'll be happy to talk about that later.
Well, actually, as a quick follow-up, why not energy? What do you think is holding energy back?
It's the ultimate commodity, right? An electron is an electron. A BTU is a BTU. And solar now has, the cost of solar is driven down so far that for generation, that cost is no longer the urgent issue. The more urgent issue is around storage. So there are services like energy storage where you can definitely make a lot of money. There's need for innovation. There's need for product to roll out there. The market is really demanding it, and I would say the innovation has been lagging behind market demand. But for the actual energy generation itself, it's a commodity, and we have cheap and abundant, getting cheaper electricity generation, and through green means. You know, Gary mentioned the mandates that are coming for California getting onto 100% renewables. This is great, and this is happening worldwide, with states like California leading the way, but there's an overall trend here. However, I wouldn't invest into anything in the energy generation side of things right now, because I expect you're in a commodity market. It's always a race to the bottom in a commodity market. You have no control over your margins. You can't price your own product. But in services like energy storage, you can price and you can differentiate. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and we'll come back a little bit further on that. I feel like Tolga might have some additional comments on that. But before we do, Gary, to you, current state, how are you seeing things as of today?
You know, it's funny, Kyle, because right before this, I had a call with one of the largest energy company actually in the United States. And so we talked about peak, and instead of using generation, using batteries. So an energy management system. So I'm really encouraged that that's taken place. And as I said earlier, I mean, we've got challenges with non-potable water, right? We don't have enough water to drink. Water resources are being purchased all over. Water will be sold by the barrel like oil. I mean, we've got a lot of things happening. And I think this is a great opportunity for us. And then at the same time, as I said, Newsom in California said by 2045, although it's executive order, that, you know, zero emission vehicles will be mandated. So we've got those challenges. And the other thing is, you know, Tesla's done a phenomenal job of really bringing electric vehicles to the mainstream. I remember when the Tesla first came out and they were on the Lotus platform, and I was driving up 101 and I stopped in, and people were laughing at them. They're not laughing now. And we've made major pushes forward, but we got to move faster. And then the other thing is, you know, it's I've read a lot of Nikola Tesla's patents. I've read a lot of his original papers back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Besides the new electricity. And I wrote the article in Forbes about the democratization of opportunity. I mean, we're in a position right now where things are changing. This digital transformation has helped the energy opportunities worldwide. I mean, now imagine, so, you know, solar is going to level the playing field a bit for a lot of countries. It's not that you need to have the oil resources, you now have solar. In terms of the grid, we've got an outdated grid that needs to be updated, and we need to manage it more efficiently so that we are being cleaner with it. We need to use our resources wisely. On the CleanTech side, I just had a call with a company in Brazil, and one of the things that was very interesting is they're using organic compounds to absorb oil. And and not only to absorb it, it's not that you throw it out, you can squeeze it out of the components and they're actually up and running in business working. I love that type of technology. So the fossil fuel, we better do something about it, you know, sooner than later. Our air is being polluted. The ozone is dying. As we said a couple months ago, the Himalayas were seen for the first time in 30 years because there wasn't pollution in India. I love that. That's where we need to be, and we need to not destroy our planet. We need to be able to live more efficiently using clean tech and using it now.
Well, and there's probably a world, not a place for data and data playing a role in terms of making that efficiency exist, but also powering through the models and the analytics and things that we've spoken about as well. We're going to come right back to that in just a moment. But real quick to Irina, what are you seeing as the current state as well from your viewpoint?
I agree with all of you guys. And with the problems, I also want to add that we also have significant loss of topsoil. So, you know, that's a very big problem. Now, I think when we talk about sustainability, we kind of live in a world that have been trying to stay sustainable in a way that it has been built. And I like to think of the systems and materials, and that includes the energy and the thinking of regenerative. And I think that kind of allows us to create better systems, make better designs, think better in the materials to where we can actually reuse them, where we can repurpose them. And it comes to everything from our clothing to our buildings, right? From everything we eat and so forth. So I think that we are quite attached to the word sustainability because we're trying to build something that's going to last for a long time. But you see, the thing about it is that we do not want that. We need to be able to adapt, and we must adapt quickly. So what I'm seeing a lot, though, in a positive note, is that we see a lot of integrations of innovations happening all across the border. So in building materials, we see a big push from the space industry coming in and, doing interesting, something interesting. I just saw an article, and it was really empowering, that basically using the materials, the inside of insects, we can build this, we can print this super effective materials for Mars, right? To build our buildings. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. So now all of a sudden mosquitoes are, very important. So, but I think that that's kind of the key. The regenerative is the thing that we must think about. And also, I think that right now it is popular, regenerative and CleanTech and EnvironmentalTech. People think about it all over the world. It is obvious that we care about our air. And it's now a measurement that almost every company that is even not in a CleanTech has to kind of demonstrate of how do they make our world better. So I think that the world is bright, as they say now, there's all these things that are obviously broken, but the beauty of it is that now we don't have to close our eyes to it, and it is an important measure, and there is money raised in it. I want to add one thing, though, to what you said earlier, Kyle, that we have 90 days to for this year. However, I do think while our world have been changing a lot and things are upside down, I do think that Wednesday before Thanksgiving is going to be the last day. You gotta, finalize your backend house and really, make sure that you have agreements, because the investors are, your fundraising slows down there. So it is 45 days that we have, and it is fast, and it will expedite even faster. So the venture capitalists will need to deploy, and you founders, you need to raise now. So the time is now, and the time is now perfect for the clean tech and an environmental tech.
Absolutely. Look at, Q4 is always a wild time for any company that's getting out there and fundraising. You've got holidays, you've got travel, which used to play a role, right? This year it's a little different for most, but it's always an important time because there is so much happening, and because it's such a pivotal time leading into that next year, to your points as well. But there's, again, no better time for clean tech and sustainability than now. It's something that we do need to continue to pay attention to. But that being said, so much goes into it, right? There are these other technologies. There is this stuff that's happening around the fringe. It's not just, I built a clean tech company. It's that I built something great in clean tech and sustainability, leveraging deep or some type of new innovative technology as well. So Gary, back to you. How does artificial intelligence play a role in the future of these industries from your standpoint?
Yeah, so AI, as you said, there's a lot of data out there. We got to be able to pick up those data points with, the Internet of Things, sensors. We got to figure out, is water potable or not? Do we have geodiasis? Think about it today, Kyle. And I had an 8,700 square foot house that I built on a farm with a well. It turns out there was geodiasis in it. And the only reason I knew about it is because I was selling the house and I had to go down through and put a filtration system in. Think about how many homes are out there today that have radon, that have geodiasis, that have all kinds of different things. So we need to figure out how to proactively be able to monitor this and to be able to fix it on a moment's notice. So AI, with all that data coming in, can help us do that. And I'm encouraged about that. We are inundated with information. We've got to go down through and from a electric standpoint, like I said, I just was on a call with one of the top energy company in North America. And they're looking at clean tech instead of generators. So how do we use energy management systems to monitor those batteries that are tied into the grid, right? Instead of using generators. And it's really huge. I had 2 calls, one today and this morning and one yesterday with that group. And it's just, it's happening. So this is not something if, it's a matter of when, right? And so how do we go down through and manage and monitor? I didn't realize that and I know tomorrow we're going to talk about energy a bit more, but I didn't realize that it's such a big problem with draw of electricity and it's so unstable, right? This load balancing. And I didn't realize it, you know, in terms of these blackouts and everything. So battery technology for that, I'm really encouraged by it. And then if you look at things like lithium fluoride chemical batteries, that last 5 to 6 times as long as lithium ion extended, those new technologies are coming out. They're going to make it cheaper, faster, better, you know, or be extremely interesting. So data, I mean, it's all about the data. It's all about being able to figure out what's happening and to be able to load balance it and to be able to correct it. And the artificial intelligence could proactively make some of those decisions for us. Not smart, but intelligent AI, unsupervised.
Yeah, Keith, I see you shaking your head. Anything to add on that?
Well, I completely agree with Gary. Every deal that I've looked at increasingly, and especially over the last 5 years, has had a data component. Whether it's seems to be a pure materials play, whether it's an agriculture play, building materials, whatever it is, increasingly we see more and more data, and people are realizing that the lion's share of the value that their innovation is creating actually lies with the data. The harder part is how to monetize that. So we are seeing things like Gary mentioned with sensors, and that's terrific, but sensor companies don't tend to get any of that value for themselves. It's their customers that realize the value, and they're still paying for those sensors like they're a commodity. So can you shift, if you're a sensor company, can you shift from a model of just selling hardware to selling your sensors as a service? If you can do that, then you have some visibility into the value that your data is enabling your customer to capture. You have some ability to continue to develop your products and services to best assist them in capturing that value, and then you have an ability to price according to that. So I really like the shift from clean tech from being hardware and commodity sales, like it was when I first got into it, through data, I would say is the biggest contributor to this. We're seeing a shift towards service models, which is much better for the companies. They can capture value on an ongoing basis and have a share of that great revenue that their customers are generating using those products.
And Tolga, to you, anything to add further on that, to Keith's point? I know this is an area that you're both building and you know, were previously investing in. Anything that you have to add there?
Data is extremely valuable. I mean, not just the clean tech right now, actually in every business, data is extremely important. Especially why AI and data, the usage of data is going to be really important for clean technologies is because, you know, people are still need to be convinced. And when you are putting the data in front of people in terms of, you know, what your profits are, or determining, you know, why, you know, the option A is better than the option B, data is showing you the results. And when you are building your business, you gotta build it around some sort of digital technology that allows this data to be used for your benefit. So I think it's crucial. So clean tech, back to actually my first point of discussion, I want to get back to the digital technologies and the connectivity. It's extremely important for clean technologies to involve all, the latest digital technologies and AI technologies, because first of all, it makes them valuable. Every company with AI or some big data, some deep learning embed into it has lots of value. And also it is, when you look at the current oil industry or fossil fuel industry, it's still outdated. Everything is still, being studied on papers, and things are outdated. So when you innovate, when you integrate AI and related technologies into clean technology, sustainability, EVs, EV charging, you are definitely in another level. So, to sum it up, I think AI technology, the AI, data, big data, deep learning, and also cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency is going to be involved, is going to somehow, it's going to be a part of the clean energy in the future. And as people are charging their cars, they might be, in the future, they might be using cryptocurrency to charge their cars or to fill their wallets when they're doing it. So there is a massive, like I said, the digital connectivity, digital technologies, clean energy, pandemic, everything happening in the same time, and it's a massive intersection of opportunities. And I think the growth is going to be crazy from this point further.
Well, and good point. So let's actually come to you, Irina, on this around digital currencies and deep tech or blockchain, how that may play a role in these industries as well, from your standpoint.
Yes. Well, two things. One, we absolutely will use cryptocurrency as underlying transfer of value on daily basis. So it's just going to be kind of an underlying tech for how we exchange values of whatever, whether it's through tokens or currency. Also, blockchain technology itself plays a big role in another way, because while cryptocurrency and tokens they do live on blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is not the only thing that that provides solutions for us. So the immutable ledger, I think, is the key here. And when we think about data and we think about data problems, we need to make sure that our data is actually validated, right? So whether it's an authentic data or not is still a big problem, and blockchain technology solves those problems. So for clean energy, especially, it's very important to make sure that the information is authentic. And just kind of for us human being living in a society where the trust is not necessarily something that we have to have many intermediaries in between us to make business and do things. So I think that those two clarifications are very important, because they are separate, and we must think about them separately, because cryptocurrency and the tokens are one aspect of it, right? So the other aspect is the single source of truth, and the single source of truth has the biggest impact across all of the industries. It makes a really, really big impact. I think that the supply chain, the authenticity of what we're saying is in there is what is the product is one of the bigger turnarounds for people when they think about clean energy, because they always wonder, is this clean? How bad it is? And so I think the supply chain for when we're building something is going to be a big impact. And it all is happening now. We are in integration of innovation stage. So all of the technologies we're discussing right now are being implemented, and they're being built on by governments as well.
Well, and that kind of brings me to the areas of opportunity, right? Where, for those that are listening as both investors and entrepreneurs, where are the areas of opportunity looking at 2021 and the decade ahead for either to be placing your bets or to be building and focusing your time and energy as well on. And so, Keith, I want to start with you. You got a big smirk on your face. I know you got something that you want to let out. So we're going to start with you. Where are you seeing the areas of opportunity looking at the year ahead?
Well, the reason why you're seeing that look on my face there is that I just want to say something a little bit contrarian about the crypto and blockchain discussion. For years, we've called it the anti-CleanTech because of its enormous electricity consumption. Generation of heat drives a huge amount of electricity required just to cool it. It's going night and day. Last year there was an article about the crypto and blockchain have a carbon footprint equal to the entire city of Las Vegas, which is not a very sustainable city with electricity running night and day, everything going. So there's an opportunity in that obviously it's a very fast growing area in crypto blockchain. Yes, absolutely. Irina's points around the advantages of the immutable ledger and single source of truth, those are great points, absolutely. But there's an opportunity here to apply clean tech in those areas and get this entirely on renewable, which it is in some places. There are some centers in Arizona, for example, that I know of that are 100% run on solar. Microsoft is putting this data center down at the bottom of the ocean so that cooling isn't such an issue. They're talking about putting them on the moon, so cooling is not an issue. There's all kinds of exciting things going on there, but right now it is a CO2 emitter on a big and growing scale, and that needs to be addressed.
Well, and as a quick side note, huge area of opportunity for many to jump into when it comes to not just this industry, but to many, right? Looking at how we're using energy in all areas of industry and how we can make that more energy efficient. Absolutely. And so, Keith, anything else to add around the areas of opportunity before we continue?
Sure. So on that carbon point, let me talk about one of my previous funds portfolio companies, Carbon Cure. Carbon Cure. So the biggest CO2 emitter industry-wise is the cement industry, largely going into concrete for the built environment. Carbon Cure takes CO2, which can come out of the atmosphere or can come out of industrial waste. Can come from anywhere, and they inject it into concrete, ready mix concrete. This forms a nanocrystalline. We're seeing exponential growth and the uptick of ready mix suppliers installing Carbon Cure's equipment into their sites, and the model is fantastic. Carbon Cure actually provides all the equipment and is done as a service. It's so smart. They're not selling hardware. They are providing a service that enables their customers to produce greener, stronger concrete, which then gives them a differentiator to go out there and sell, outcompete their competitors who don't have this stronger, greener concrete. So I love models like this. Carbon Cure just recently closed a big round with contributors from Breakthrough Energy. There are big investors getting involved in this. The scale is getting bigger, but I love plays like this. The built environment is the biggest CO2 emitter, 39% of emissions worldwide. Concrete is the biggest contributor to that, with about half of that coming there. And to see companies like Carbon Cure that come up with a model that's not just selling stuff, but is using data to provide an ongoing service and capture more and more value while enabling more value for the customers, that's the kind of thing that I love. That's the kind of thing that gets me excited.
I love it. Gary, to you, where are you seeing the areas of opportunity?
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, so really across the board, right? So this non-potable water issue is a critical energy efficient desalination of water and wastewater treatment. How do we recycle it better? How do we do it more efficiently? And again, artificial intelligence and sensors and Internet of Things will come to play with that. the use of battery technologies, better battery technologies, as I said, to be able to back up these systems. So more efficient, smaller, higher output. And then the thing that's really interesting is SaaS systems, to be energy management systems, to be able to monitor those loads and to make sure that they're effective within the grid. So if they're separate, I don't think it's going to be that interesting. But once it's all connected together and you can really load balance it, it becomes extremely interesting. So that batteries like lithium fluoride batteries, chemical batteries that can last 5 to 8 times longer than extended lithium ion could be really interesting, especially if they're a hybrid battery. They're impervious to heat. Heat doesn't affect them, but cold does. So really coupling other batteries with them to create a super battery. That's really interesting from my standpoint. So, I mean, it's everywhere, right? It's literally everywhere. We know that we're gonna go off fossil fuels. We hit peak. Peak is either now, this year, Kyle, or it'll be in the next 20 years, depending on what government you talk to. What peak means is that we're going downstream from there. So we better have a replacement because it's going to be the way we're going to need to live. So, I mean, I could go on and on. There's incredible opportunities. It's the good thing about it is it makes our lives better. And I really like that. It makes us live better, makes us live longer, and it helps humanity. So all the parts of CleanTech, I mean, electric vehicles, look at, incorporating those technology in electric vehicles to make our carbon footprint less. And it's
absolutely
getting better and better, cheaper. Tesla just announced a $25,000 car, so it's now starting to become more affordable.
Absolutely. Well, and Arena, to you, and Keith, I see you shaking your head. Let me get out to everybody, and we'll come back to everyone for closing thoughts as we hit the lightning round here. Arena, to you, where are you seeing the areas of opportunity?
I see areas of opportunities in renewable housing, modular housing, and housing that allows you to kind of really, if you would isolate yourself from the outside of the world and be able to have water, food, and ability to change things around. I think that people want that a lot, and as we move forward into the future and experiencing more loss of the topsoil, and we will kind of need to start thinking about those things. I see that a lot, and it's moving to us from space industry. So what I'm describing is actually real, and there are several companies that are creating that, right, ability to build home and then create a system that allows you to have family of 4. To me, that's just a beautiful thing that is happening. And then really huge opportunities I see in the technology that allows us, and practices that allows us to save topsoil. So there's a big move in it, and we did have a conversation about that on the farming episode. But to me, that's also clean technology as well, right? Because it's not just about the air that we breathe. It's also about the food that we eat and the water that we drink. Anything that comes into our body, we need to address, and that's where those opportunities. And as Gary and Keith said, and we do have a lot of opportunities in the data. So if you have a company that is harvesting that data, and it sounds terrible now, again, we're getting into privacy, and we're not going to get into privacy, but really kind of understands better the data. And then I think that AI will play a huge roles in our lives to kind of just make sure that we are drinking better water, we are breathing better air, and we are eating better food.
Tolga, to you, and we'll be coming around for everyone for closing thoughts. So Tolga, areas of opportunity, closing thoughts, and then where can everyone find you online? You got the triple decker, so hit us with it all.
Thank you, Kyle. You can connect me with on LinkedIn, Tolga Onuk, and my website is tolgaonuk.com. Please check it out. For future events too, I'm going to be on the panel tomorrow as well. I'm really excited about it. Closing thoughts, I agree with Gary. The Tesla just announced a $25,000 car. the battery technologies are getting improved. And it was funny, actually. They announced the battery technologies that are completely innovating, and the stock price actually went down. So that actually shows how people are not really well educated about the industry in terms of the batteries and all of this stuff. But for me, it's very convincing. Everything that Elon Musk is working on is extraordinary. I think, yeah, he just actually announced that they are aiming for 20 million cars by 2020. That's a crazy amount of deliveries, production. So I think the opportunity is definitely in the anything that involves the electric cars, the side industries that are next to the batteries or EV charging. They're going to massively benefit from the growth of the industry. So this is pretty much replacing the fossil fuel industry. So the opportunities are almost infinite. It's changing the whole energy industry in the world. So I think the opportunity is almost infinite, and anything that is going to be around EVs, EV charging, the EV batteries, or home solar systems that are connected to EV charging and EV battery systems, they have a crazy amount of value, and I think it's just going to grow from here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Irina, to you, quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online?
I think that my closing thoughts would be encouraging to entrepreneurs to keep on pushing boundary. Okay, think outside of the box. Think what else is more. I really want to see more and further. What innovations are you using? Is there a way of application of quantum computing that we're missing in completely solving our problems? With food, air, and water. If you're an entrepreneur and you're going through growth cycle, connect with me. LinkedIn message is great. If you're an investor, let's also talk and work together. We must together solve the problem of liquidity in the funding world. So, the faster, the more, the better we can deploy, the better liquidity we have, the better solutions we can create, and the more money we can give to these entrepreneurs. And you can find me anywhere, Irina Litchfield or Crypto Superwoman, and message me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful, thank you. Gary, to you, quick closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online?
Yeah, so you can reach me, Gary Fowler, at LinkedIn, or Gary at gsdvs.com. I write a lot. I've got a couple of shows that I do, so be happy to hear from you. We are unicorn breeders. The good news is we've done it before. It's not the first show. We've done it twice. We're looking for companies that really want to grow and dominate a space and want to change the world. So give me a call and contact me. And this is a great time. This is like, so AI is the new electricity, and CleanTech is going to change the world to make it better for us. So let's work together.
Absolutely. Last but not least, Keith, close us out. Closing thoughts, and where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. Really enjoyed it. Keith Gillard, find me on LinkedIn for my new private equity fund. It has a website, but it's totally stealth, so it's pointless to even tell you the name of it. We'll be making an announcement soon. My closing thought here is I want to reinforce the idea of a business model is really important for success in clean tech. We cannot continue the past pattern of selling hardware and selling any kind of commodity, whether it be electrons or be fuel or whatever. You have to find a way to shift to more of an ongoing service model, build data into your value proposition. And this will be not only better for you as a clean tech entrepreneur, but much better for your customers as well, and will be welcomed all around. If you can't find a way to do that, use resources. There are government programs, certainly here in Canada, and I know that there are in the US and in Europe as well, to access resources, to bring in a consultant, help you find a way to pivot from your old model to a model that will be much more successful for your company and for your product and your impact on the planet.
Wonderful. And thank you all so very much for sharing your thoughts and insights today. This is a great discussion. As Gary mentioned, we're going to be continuing this discussion later this week and then also throughout the rest of the quarter as we do wrap up the year here in 2020. With that being said, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to speak on today's topic or other topics, industries, and regions around the world. We'd love to have your thoughts and your time here on VCTV. Thank you, Arena. Thank you, Gary. And also, as entrepreneurs, if you'd like to be on our virtual stage to pitch us as investors for real-time feedback on your company, product, and or service, do reach out along with our live audience as well. And last but not least, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and Emmanuel for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we'll be back here after a short break to talk to you a little bit more about what's happening in the world between technology, industries, and regions around the world here on VCTV.